In Succession, J. Smith Cameron plays Gerri, the general counsel to the Roy's family multimedia empire. I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor at Cold Gerri. I'm here with Smith Cameron. Gerri is the most relatable character on the show, I think, because she's an outsider. Even though she's trying to protect the family from all their dirty little secrets, she also looks at them like they are the entitled brats that they seem to be. Is that key to understanding who this woman is?
Absolutely. Absolutely key. I think that's totally the fun of the character, is that she's able to, she knows them so well, she's worked with them so long, she knows their family and she knows the business, and she is constantly trying to field their weird requests, some weirder than others, and just absorbing the lunacy. And I feel like that maybe that's the audience's way in sometimes, to have a character that is reflecting back their own incredulity about just how bad these people can be.
Yeah, I recall there's a scene, just from what you're saying, where Gerri's talking to Frank and asking him, why did you come back after being fired? And she had this look on her face that kind of we have with her, because we're always thinking, why do you stick around these people? Why do you think it is? Why will Gerri never leave Logan's side and the family's business?
That is a really excellent question that I don't have a strong answer for. I mean, I think that's why she asked Frank, is that, except with Frank, he really is the whipping boy a lot. He gets fired a lot. And Gerri is sort of like the cat that, has 9 lives. I'm knocking wood quickly. So I feel like it's some kind of strange, first of all, I think she's a workaholic, and she's loves doing it, and she loves the high energy, and she loves the sort of addicted to the sense of danger about it. Which is not something I personally really relate to. I guess it's a bit like performing is a bit like that. So like a little bit feels like a high wire act. But I guess maybe I take it that she's very good at her job, and maybe that there's quite a lot of pleasure in just kind of surfing that and staying on top of it, and managing to stay alive in this high stakes game. Also, I think she's been doing it for quite a while. There's like a lifetime career that she's built, and she's not going to give it up so easily. She wants the full reward of all that time she's put in. And maybe there's a bit of just a little perverse attachment to the family in spite of herself.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that, because I think that really fits in nicely to the big storyline that you had over season 2. And I know everybody wants to ask you about the really strange kind of weird fetishized flirtation that Gerri has with Roman. To me, it was so unexpected, and I really loved it. I just thought it really worked. And the first question about that is, can you take us back to when you first became aware of that story arc, and what your initial thoughts were about how it was going to play out?
Sure. Yeah, I still find that a very odd storyline myself. I first found out about it because we started season 2, and the first scene I shot with Kieran was a scene with Gerri and Roman, and they were looking on the iPad at Kendall's interview in Iceland.
Yeah.
And I remember Mark Mylod said, cozy up to him, a little foreshadowing. And I was like, and so then they set action, and I did that, and I was like, the minute we cut, I was like, so, what you just said to me about foreshadowing, would you like to explain that? And he was like, oh my God, has no one told you? That's terrible. And tried to fill me in that maybe, sorry, there's a lot of noise outside my window suddenly, but I think it's a moving car. I apologize for that. And so then he just explained that that was going to lead up to some sort of weird, it sounded like a one-off thing of just someone weird phone call, and that they weren't. It didn't sound like they were completely sure they were going to go that far with it, and that was and then it went further. I mean, I guess they I guess the way it turned out, and it went further. But I mean, I'm kind of lucky because I don't know what sense Kira makes of it. That's his problem. But for me, I feel like Gerri is also bewildered and trying to figure out how to manage it. And I mean, if you think about it, it's weird, it's inappropriate, but it's also, I mean, he is a Roy. I think she's fond of him in spite of herself. I think that he's a charismatic, important person, and it's a story about succession. And we've seen how Kendall did, and we've seen how Shiv did, or how they didn't do. And so I think there might be a little of like, let's see what this is. I'm not really sure how to manage this. And so luckily for me, I feel like Gerri is also off center with it and thinking on her feet and trying to figure it out as she goes along. So I feel a little like I can just be, not myself, but be innocent to those questions and just kind of, I think it changes beat to beat in each scene. Sometimes I'm horrified, sometimes I'm utterly bewildered, and sometimes I'm bemused. And maybe sometimes there is actually a little frisson between them that's legitimate, that in spite of themselves. So I don't know. I don't even want to ask them what they've got in store for season 3, but I'm very intrigued to see where it will go.
We all are, actually. Like, for example, as you say, it's very challenging to understand what the motivations are because it's so unusual. Like, it's unexpected, it's nuanced, it's uncomfortable, it's voyeuristic. Is she revolted? Is she embarrassed? Is she into it? I think all those things actually apply. And for example, the bedroom bathroom scene is one that lots of people want to talk about because it was just so perfectly done in the writing and the way that you and Kieran performed it. And it shifts so much, doesn't it, through that scene? That would have been quite challenging to get right, I would expect.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was. And I feel like it changed on a dime. Like, I think I opened the door and I'm really dismayed to see him because he's bad news, and we're sleeping with the enemy. We're right in the, we're in the enemy's camp. We're in the Pierce household. And so I think it goes from like, oh, brother, to real sympathy for him about finding out that that Logan had picked Shiv, and he was caught out and embarrassed and humiliated and disappointed. And I think we're enough of a liaison between us that I feel like she feels for him. She's the one who sent him off to do the business training. He's her project in a way. Or I think she thinks of him that way. And so I think it went to sympathy, then it went to, then when Gerri gets drift of what he really came by for, she's horrified. And then her very being horrified is what turns him on. And then she takes that in. And then it's sort of flirty for a moment. And so it's like one microbeat after another. So it was a bit like an obstacle course to film, but really exciting. It was like, I feel like I didn't breathe the whole time. It was like, I feel like I was holding my breath because it would just go. And I thought the editor is really going to have a field day figuring out what the story of this scene is. And in fact, I remarked earlier to someone else about this, that, because whenever we would shoot these Gerri Roman scenes, we would do every beat a number of ways. And really, I was curious how it would be edited together, because not until it was edited together would you really see what the story was thus far. So when we got ready to shoot that scene, I didn't really know which versions of the earlier scenes were in the story, or even if they all were.
Yeah.
So that was challenging because I thought, okay, I don't really know where we left off. When we last saw these two characters, what was the status of things? I don't really know. So it was a little like we tried it a bunch of different ways. And I think it was thrilling for that reason. It was like a acting workout because for Kieran too, but in a different way, because Kieran knew what his ulterior motive was. But Gerri's like thinking on her feet and adjusting. And that was really exciting because it had to just turn on a dime. as the nickel dropped each time, like, oh, okay, all right. And she takes him into it's not until the door closes, and she's still not out of the woods, but where she's both amused and relieved and kind of shudders too, horrified. So it was really, I mean, to say that it was really rich is understatement, but it was really like an acting field day to work on.
Yeah, I still think about that scene and just how unexpected it was. Typical of the show. It does it all the time. And in fact, I think you've hinted that there were more scenes to come in the finale that might have been cut, and we may see some in season 3, although that has to be shut down for the time being. So we've got a lot to look forward to, and I think there's more gold to mine out of that particular storyline. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to doing that as well. Now, I was just thinking, whenever I speak to people from Succession, I always wonder what your thoughts are about this, and that is that the show is about like really unlikable one-percenters. Gerri's not necessarily part of that, but they're generally quite repugnant. But yet I want to be around them. I can't wait to spend another hour with these people in my living room. Why do you think that is? Why is the show so appealing and so addictive?
That's a good question. I guess, I mean, well, first of all, I would say that between the writers and the actors involved, I feel like people have really created these very specific, even though they are one-percenters and we might all have a predetermined thought about what those people are like, they're very specific characterizations and very vividly drawn and specific. So that's always, I think, arresting as for me, when I'm an audience, I always find that really compelling. So they're not generic types. They're kind of all quirky, interesting, layered sort of characterizations. And also I think they're all like, the show is kind of all about appetite. Like they're all dying to get what they're after, which is a very human, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Greek mythology, because the Greek gods aren't virtuous gods like in some other religious cultures. They have, glorified aspects, and they have equally profound, horrible, aspects to their personalities. And I feel like that's what the family, the Roy family, and the employees of Waystar are like too. They show the far extremes of human nature, and I think it's sort of like a train wreck. You can't look away. That's just so fascinating to see that sort of greed or entitlement or appetite for something, and to see people go after it is just very watchable. What do you think of that?
I do totally agree, because it's got wonderful writing, great performances, but there's a lot of TV shows that have those, but this is on another level. And I remember at the Emmys last year, there was such a palpable love for Succession there. Like, you could just see that it's really starting to hit the zeitgeist in some certain way, like in terms of how it became more popular over season 2. Have you found the same thing in terms of how people want to approach you and when they want to talk about the show?
Yeah, I do. I feel like people are excited by it, and I'm struck by how original it is. And so, yeah, I think, I'm not sure how to fully, when it's you, if a fan or someone in your business approaches you and likes the show, you're thrilled and maybe a little abashed, but so you also are kind of trying to buffer, getting caught up in the hype of it, because you still have work to do. You don't want to get too involved with your own, good press. You want to earn it. You want to stay in it. So there's that. But I feel like I don't really know what to think of it, because I do think it struck a really original chord with people, and people are kind of almost alarmed by it. And so some people I do think some people are really turned off by that, for these things you were talking about. But a lot of people really respond in this really, like it's a wake up, like it's a stringent sort of, wake up call to the taste buds or something.
Yeah. And then I think part of that is the way the show portrays women. Shiv and Gerri and all of them, they're ambitious And what do you think the show is trying to say about women in power or ambitious women in our culture?
Gee, I don't know that I've ever thought of it that way, as if they're trying to say, deliberately trying to say something about, I haven't thought of it as them deliberately trying to make a gender comment. I think maybe, if anything, it just reveals that Jesse Armstrong and Mark Mylod and the writing team and the producer team almost see no, I feel like they see no difference in drama and comedy, and they see no difference in male and female in terms of status or power, and that it reflects that. I don't know if they're deliberately trying to smash any habitual ways we think of genders in gender politics, but I think it kind of goes along with a piece of being like reflecting powerful people. And I think that it is actually true that a lot of really powerful people in the world are female, and really always have been. They don't always get the recognition for it. And so I think, that's just my off the cuff answer. I'd have to think about that a little bit. But my feeling is they're not deliberately trying to make a statement about that. That's more of a reflection of how they see that.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's, personally, that's my view. I think gender is not necessarily one of the messages of this show. It's just about powerful people, particularly dynastic politics. And for Gerri, I know Roman calls her a stone-cold killer bitch, and that might, in another show, that might be, a derogatory comment, but in this show, it's absolutely a compliment. And the word killer has a lot of meaning for us fans in this show, given what's going on with Kendall. What do you think about the comment that she's a stone-cold killer bitch? I think she probably is.
Yeah, I think she's a Sharpie, I think she's really good at what she does, and I think she is, really good at what she does. And so she takes a sort of pride in being exacting. And being ruthless, and clear-eyed about what she's after. So yeah, I think she would feel complimented by that appraisal too.
Yeah, I agree. So Succession hadn't started shooting season 3 before the shutdown, right? So how far did you get in terms of preparing, and how frustrated are you that you can't finish what you had started?
Well, I'm very frustrated, obviously, but it's so much better to know that we're going to go forward when it's safe to do so. We were all set to start early April, so it was just exactly really when everything was shutting down. So I think, there's still really, I believe the writers and producers are still very much at work trying to figure out how we can shoot this safely. And I think they're very capable of just exactly that kind of problem solving. It's a very sophisticated group in a way. Like, I think they're really, what I gather is they're really in a kind of think tank with productions all over the globe, and trying to figure out how all over the world people are managing in our business with COVID, and being very thorough. So I feel like when we do go back to work, that we can be relatively assured that we're safe, or that every step that can be taken will be taken. So that's good. But yeah, it's very frustrating. And I think we're all probably feeling very restless to get back to work.
And how much do you know about what season 3 has in store for us? Not a lot, or you can't say?
Not a lot, and I'm kind of scared to ask. I don't know if I asked, but because of what I mentioned earlier, that I feel like my way into playing my way through the storyline is to embrace that she doesn't know what's happening. Like, she's kind of taking, thinking on her feet and taking one step at a time and trying to stay alive. Mm. So I feel like, in a way, that's kind of that sort of innocence about what's going to happen. That's just kind of a nice safe spot for me. If I knew too much and then had to go back and be in that vulnerable spot, I think it would be trickier. So, I speculate all the time, all kinds of different things, but I have no idea what they have in mind. And I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, ditto. I can't wait to find out either. Now, everyone go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, click subscribe, and thank you so much, Jay, for your time today. It was really fascinating to hear your insights on our favourite show.
Thank you so much.